Yeah, yeah. Father, can I get one mic? Lord, I gotta prophesy to him. Lord, all I need is one mic. Yeah, can I get one mic? Told me to cry to the ears of your people, every one of them. Tell them they're the children of the chosen of Jerusalem. Tell them in the youth they used to walk with you in peace, but now they falling and they crawling at the head of all the streets. Guns aimed at each other, fingers over the trigger, as they looking at each other like they facing the mirror. And you could hear their souls both and they crying for help. Look in the eyes of your brother and you'll see yourself. Lord, tell them we were once kings in the spirit and died, stood alive and just buried inside. One day we will rise when my people revive. Been through the fire and the trials, but my people survive. All my brothers gotta stand up and take your crown. We've been buried at the bottom, time to get up now. And if we put our minds together, we could only make it better. Cause when two gather together, Christ is right up in the middle. I try to tell them nothing more than or bad hit. It's a bad hit, we in the dead or in prison. All my brothers and my sisters keep on falling the victim into a system designed to keep our history hidden. Just try to envision a vision of living life in the kingdom with no sin and no stealing or killing. Read the scriptures for wisdom. Within the scriptures it's written that the Messiah was risen so we can live in peace. Yeah. Father, can I get one mic? Lord, can I get one mic? Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. Just try to envision a vision of living life in the kingdom with no sin and no stealing or killing. Just try to envision a vision of living life in the kingdom with no sin and no stealing or killing. Lord.
For the grace of our high has appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world, looking for the blessed hope and the glorious appearing of a higher and our Savior Yeshua, who gave himself, because in the wilderness he's going to appear to us just like he appeared to our forefathers that rejected him and said, speak to Moses instead. So when it says, look for the glorious appearing of a higher, yes, we're going to see him. It's going to appear with the lightning and all of that, you know, that made them afraid. Who gave himself for us that he might redeem, pay the price for our iniquity, us from all iniquity, and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous for good works. These things speak and exhort and rebuke with all authority. Let no man despise you. Let's go one more. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. Know ye not that unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of our higher? So what is righteousness? We're going to deal with that in a second. The unrighteous, that's a compound word, righteousness. When it talks about righteousness, there is referring to, I will deal with that compound word in a second. But it's only one word. But it's compound, just like knowing the Most High. You keep the law, statutes, and commandment. That's it. It's just that. Love all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your strength. That's the commandment. But in like that, the first is like the second. You love your neighbor as yourself. Because if you cannot love your neighbor that you can see, how can you say you love a higher that you can't see? Righteousness, that's that word. That is a compound word that we have to break down into two parts so that we can comprehend and understand, so that we stop playing folly. That's why the rich young ruler had to understand that this part now, you need to do this part to be perfect. Be not deceived. So you're not keeping righteousness as a composite whole. Don't be deceived. Be not deceived, neither fornicators or idolaters. What is covetousness? Covetousness is idolatry. Or adulterers. Or effeminate. You effeminate men, man up! Shake that weakness off your bones, man. Let the word ignite that fire in you again. Come back to your first love. Right. No abusers of themselves with mankind. That's homosexuals. You're gonna die, man. Okay. No thieves, no covetous, no drunkards, no rivalers, no extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of a higher. Right? So you can't inherit the kingdom if you're dealing with this. Okay, no extortioners. That word rivalers when you look at it for what it really is, it's the word rebellious. That's what that word means. Rebellious. Okay, it's rebellious. Slakia. That word means rebellious. Sisters, that word's actually for you. Wow, like I said, I'll get the Strongs for that another time. I'm not dealing with that right now. Okay, now that we've got that, now let's see the other part. Like I said, knowing the Most High is a composite whole. It's only one, but we have to simplify it because of what, like we read with the rich young ruler. Now let's go now to Jeremiah chapter 22. So when you see any concept in the scriptures, just like it says, you know, precept must be upon precept. You don't have your own private interpretation. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 20. Let's get that very quickly, because some of you might want to give your own interpretation of what you think righteousness is. Righteousness to me is... Shut your mouth, man. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 20-21. Knowing first that no prophecy of the scriptures is of any private interpretation. No prophecy of the scriptures is of any private interpretation. I don't care what your pastor said. I don't care Bishop Porkchop says. I don't care. What does the word say? Precept must be upon precept. And I don't want to see what the NIV says neither. Go into the King James, man, because they distort a lot of things. If you can find out what they've distorted, you can go into the Hebrews and the Greek and then you outline all of that. And that's cool. If you want to use that, that's fine. But you don't come up with their perverted script. I mean, like the parts where they perverted the scriptures and then now expect me to just take your stupid scripture because of that. Or read the Jehovah's Witness Bible to me. New Living Translation. Ain't nothing living about that. That's dead. Should be New Dead Translation. You ain't got no light in that, man. Read the King James Version Bible. Why not? The word Bible just means compilation of books. We have a lot more books, but this is the book that the High is given at this time because he watches over his word to perform it. King James himself, you know, if you look into the history of what was happening, there was political agenda. He knew that they were going to try to destroy our record. And it wasn't the first time Alexander the Great destroyed our records. Then that's how you had the Septuagint come about. And they built a library where they always keep our records for theirs. So you have a lot of our records that are still hidden in their places. You know, but this is what we need right now. Like I said earlier, you got to think in terms of war. So when Ahijah deemed it that this 66 books, now even the Apocrypha that was cut out, you know, we need that too. Because that's the whole King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha. Apocrypha just means hidden books. So that shouldn't be cut out. But I don't even need, most times that's for clarity on a lot of things. We don't even need to go into the Apocrypha if you don't believe in it. That's all right, that's cool. We'll deal with this. Let's deal with this King James Version Bible, not the New King James or the NIV or the New Living Translation. Let's deal with the King James Version Bible. We know that all the other translations came out of that. Except you want to look into the older translations, which would have not contradicted what King James was saying. But most of these newer translations contradict. So Ahijah set King James to commission these Hebrew scholars, Hebrew and Greek scholars, to give us this version at this time for the target that we need at this time to deal with what we need to deal with at this time. The English is not that hard to comprehend. Stop making excuses. Get a dictionary next to you. Get a Strong's next to you. Wake up, man. Stop being sluggish, man. Feels too slow. Right. Man up. Right. For the prophecy came not of old time by the will of man. Just like I said, all these prophecies, this is a book of prophecies. It never came of the will of man. But holy men spake as they were moved of reward. That's why you had the scribes and you had the Pharisees. You know, as the holy men spoke, you know, the scribes were jotting these things down. That's a lot of our records. Okay, but this is what we are dealing with right now. The King James Version Bible. That's it. You go into the book of Joshua. That book is a powerful book, man. You know what I mean? The book of Joshua, and this King James Version Bible tells you, encourages you to go into that. The book of Enoch, Jude encourages you to go into that. So the apostles were reading these books. In the Apocrypha, you know, the book, The Secret of the Times, that's the book of Jubilees. I could go into that to show you, but all these books are authenticated by Ahaya himself. Now those 3 books I just recommended are the main 3 books I would recommend, because I read them myself. You got to test everything, you got to prove it first. And they're all aligned with scriptures completely, because it's one book. It's Ahaya speaking, it's his spirit speaking. So the spirit and the word bear witness with each other. You're not going to see any contradictions. If it's contradictions, it's contradictions in what you've been listening to, your pork chop eating pastors, man, and all these stupid philosophies and ideologies and all of that stuff. Have they changed stuff? Yeah, like in Amos chapter 6 verse 3, you know, the Septuagint, you know, says that they will be adopting false Shabbats, but they conveniently cut that out. That was in the time of King James, because King James himself was not perfect. You had the Masoretes then, you know, that were dealing with our scriptures perfectly, and they were removing things because they had fraternity. They were setting up, it was all about setting up this Babylonian empire that you see today. So it's all about control. And in order to do that, you know, the Jews need to not to know who they are. They need not to call on that name Ahaya, because all the nations are afraid of that name, man. You know, so let that name not come out, like you see in Malachi. As long as that we're cool on that, as Malachi chapter 1, the name Ahaya is dreadful among the nations. The name Yeshaya is dreadful among the nations. That's why you don't see many people calling on Yeshaya or Ahaya. They call on Yah. Yah is the power of covetousness. Allah in Hebrew means power. It's the power, because all the angels, you know, the fallen angels, where it says that it made these angels spirits, right? And his ministers flames of fire. So their powers, and all these powers are still in the nations. So that's why you see it talks about in the scriptures where it says, you know, the gods of the other nations are idols. So it's all these fallen angels sitting on all these nations is what they worship. Okay? But the power of Israel, the almighty power, Shema Yeshua Lahaya Lahaya Nawahaya Kat. Here, O Israel, the most high power is one. That name is what's dreaded among the nations. The name Jehovah is not dreaded among the nations. The cults use that. In fact, that is the God that they worship. The name Yahweh is not dreaded among the nations. The Jewish people use that. That's their God. They ain't calling it the power of the universe. The name Jesus is definitely not dreaded among anyone. You sneeze, you're hailing Zeus every time you sneeze. What's the 3rd commandment? You should not call the name of Ahaya in vain. So once you got that name now, you've been given a stewardship, man. Don't use that name like all these other heathens are using them. Don't say, oh, Ahaya told me to do this, if he didn't tell you to do it. This ain't Cesare Borgia, you know. He'll take you out. Right. Where were we? Let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 16 now. He judged the cause of the poor and the needy. Then it was well with him. Was not this to know me, saith the Most High? Most High is asking. The one that's judging the cause of the poor and the needy are the ones that know me. Right? So on that note, we're going straight to righteousness now. Righteousness. What does righteousness mean? Righteousness is a compound word. There's 2 main words when you break down what righteousness means. There's sadak and sadaka. But by the names itself, you can see that they're derived from each other. Sadak. Let's deal with that. Now let's go, before I start dealing with the name itself, let's go into the scriptures first of all. Daniel chapter 4 verse 27. Wherefore, O king, so he was speaking to, but Nebuchadnezzar had a dream himself. But now he had got puffed up. So now he was given the kingdom, he was the head, it was the golden head. You know, Babylon is the golden cup. Okay? So now he had gotten puffed up and everything, and now he had this dream, and that he was like a tree and everything. You can read the story for yourself. Okay? But Daniel was now showing him that, look, You know, a higher is going to cut you down. You that think that you're anything. He's going to cut you down. He's going to reveal his power on earth. That's why we need to get this right. We need to now, instead of claiming to know the Most High, we need to actually start knowing him. Because none of us know him, man. If you don't keep the law, statutes, commandments, if you're not doing, you're not judging the cause of the poor and the needy. Well, let's even look into the word righteousness, and then we'll see what that means. But first of all, now let's deal with this first, and I'll go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25. You know, the definition of righteousness is that definition. This is another definition. So it's two definitions, just like I gave the Most High gave it two definitions.
Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Oh, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our day, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thou the kingdom, power and the glory